Continues. This was the seventh type of Kaf HaKela. Number 8. Yalkut Chadash, perek Chataim ve'onashim, upgimatam ve'reshaim, by Rabbi Israel MiBelz. Lived about 360 years ago. Section of the book Ot Yutet, section 19. So Rabbi Israel MiBelz says the following: the sin of Lashon Hara, its punishment is to become a stone. Shem Yishmor V'Yatzil. The punishment for Lashon Hara, Rabotai, is to become a stone. And the same for those who made a mitzvah and regretted it. Same thing as what the response said, the Radbaz says. Lashon Hara, a mitzvah, and regretting a mitzvah, becoming a stone. You did a mitzvah, you donated some money, you learned some Torah, but because you learned some Torah, you missed the appointment. Or you lost some type of deal. I shouldn't have learned. I shouldn't have got to that shiur. For that stupid statement, you have to come back as a stone. Or you have to do tshuva. I'm sorry, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I know that your Torah is worth more than all the gold in the world, all the money in the world, and everything is from you. I'm sorry. It's mamash cry to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the whole point of having, a Yom Kippur. We're supposed to prepare, cry to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, if we haven't done anything, if there's certain things we're just realizing during the shiur that we haven't done tshuva for, we still have to do it. This right now is the time. Right now, mamash, right now. You're thinking about it. Okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I didn't even know. This mamash. This is last couple of hours left. Couple of hours left. We're finished. Person. B'ezrat Hashem, at the end, I'll tell you guys certain things to start applying. So, Rabbi Israel MiBelz says that Lashon Hara and regretting a mitzvah, a person has to come back as a stone. And there's no lower level than this punishment of the Gilgul into a stone, and this is done inside Gehinnom, where they do this Kaf HaKela, as it is written in Psalm 84:7. Ovrei be'emek habacha, those who pass through the valley of the Bacha. Bacha is thorns. So Bacha says it's a acronym for Bimtzolot Kmo Avin, that in the depths of like a rock. It's a acronym. As in Exodus chapter 15 verse 5. Regarding the Egyptians, and this soul doesn't have a rectification until this rock crumbles from their tears into the river, as it is written in Psalm 84:7, Ma'ayan Yishitu, that they transformed into a wellspring. That the rock cries about itself until the tears from the crying about itself crumbles the rock. And each take as long as needed depending on the size of the rock. So, in so many words, the nightmare that Rabbi Israel MiBelz says, the worst possible thing that a person could happen to a person, they say Lashon Hara, they regret a mitzvah, they have to come back as a stone. Okay, well, how does a stone do tshuva? Simple. It cries about itself non-stop until the tears themselves destroy the rock. A lot of water eventually crumble the rock and eventually destroys the whole rock. Yeah, what if it's a boulder? So it's going to take a lot longer and a lot more tears. What if it's a tiny little rock? Okay, it'll take a little less, but still a lot of tears. The bigger the sin, the bigger the rock, the more tears. That's what he calls the worst thing. Now, if that wasn't enough, comes Rabbi Yosef Karo, Baal Shulchan Aruch, also talks about this. In Magid Mesharim, Rabbi Yosef Karo in Magid Mesharim, Parashat Beshalach. So he says, so the Megid Mesharim in Parashat Beshalach, the eve of the 15th of Shvat, he talks about the devotion to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where the Megid Mesharim is in essence the personal journal of Rabbi Yosef Karo and his conversations with his Chavruta. Who was Chavruta? An angel called the Magid. Now this the angel constantly rebukes him about certain things and gives him admirations and other things, and here he tells him certain secrets, and he says the following: this is the secret of what was said by Avigail. Again, brings the same exact source that we talked about several times. May the Lord's soul be bound up in the bond of life with the Lord your God, and may He shoot away the soul of your enemies as one shoots a stone within a slingshot. This, says the angel, this signifies that in any case, the soul of my Lord will be bound up in the bond of life, which is the attachment to the acquirer. This is an ipso facto, because while you are still in this world, you always devote yourself to the Lord your God. And there's no moment in this world that you do not devote yourself, your thoughts, to His Torah, to serve Him, to fear Him. This is what's meant, Et Hashem Elokecha Tira, that with your Lord your God. Now, if so, it's even more necessary that you separate yourself from this material, and that your living soul unite with your acquirer. For since your meditations and thoughts are always only of Hashem, of necessity, that is where you would always think of attaching yourself. But the living soul of your enemies, as their thoughts are not united with the blessed name, and instead they meditate on their pleasures, let them be like a stone in a slingshot, which means that those who think of food and drink will attach themselves to the external forces, to the klipot, appointed over food and drink. Those who contemplate adultery will attach themselves to the forces appointed over adultery. Those who contemplate rulership and honor will attach themselves to the forces appointed over them. It is as if they place their souls in the hollow of the sling. For since the external forces rule over such a person, it's as if he is stuck in the hollow of a sling. Also, because they come to rule over him by means of his thoughts concerning that kind of pleasure, and others come to rule over him by means of another kind of pleasure, so it seems that he is stuck between them. For naturally his soul attaches itself to the sight of his thoughts and his meditations. In so many words, the Kaf HaKela that a person has is designed by his own desires. Because let's say he makes certain sins with his food, or with immorality and so on, he gets attached to that type of klipa. Now, once he makes the sins, there's a certain sentence. Now, but because he doesn't only make the sin of, let's say, adultery, he also makes sins with food. He also makes food with lashon hara. He makes, so his Kaf HaKela is constantly in different positions. He gets flung from different places because of different desires. So just like he couldn't make up which desire to follow at any given moment, the neshama of this person is flung in the same respect. From one desire to the other, from one nightmare to another. So each desire creates a different klipa, and therefore the klipa, the Kaf HaKela is based on the klipa of the desires. And just like he or she went from one desire to another desire, they're now slung from one end to another. Another sefer by the Baal HaTanya, Rabbi Yaron Reuven, about 250 years ago, a sefer called Shav Shmateta. Sefer Shav Shmateta. It's a very deep sefer by one of the Gedolei Yisrael who learned Torah through extraordinary poverty to address the issues of safek, which is doubts, and sfek sfeka, which is an halachic term when there is a double doubt. And he quotes the Magid Mesharim. He quotes what we just quoted, the Rabbi Yosef Karo one, and he adds more to this particular writing of the Magid Mesharim. And he says the following. Again, this is an halachic sefer. It's not a midrash. It's not a stories. It's a halachic sefer that talks about Kaf HaKela, which has a lot higher significance to the naysayer world that always try to minimize the significance of a midrash because it's a midrash, so you're not obligated to follow it, as if a midrash is some fairy tale or something. So when the average ignoramus hears such a thing, they get affected. It's like Amalek. But when you hear, listen, Rav Ovadia, Stipler Gaon, Chafetz Chaim, Rabbi Akiva, Vilna Gaon, they said this, they paskin this, they discuss this, it doesn't have the same value in the mind of a naysayer. In reality, both should be the same. But in the world today of ignorance and of heresy and so on, you have to mention these specific points because it carries a certain value. So here you have a Gedolei Yisrael discussing deep issues of halacha, yet taking the time to specify this particular important subject of Kaf HaKela and elaborating on a point that's in one of the most extraordinary books of the last 500 years, which is Magid Mesharim. Magid Mesharim, by the way, also was translated to English. Some parts of it were not, but most of it was. There's some parts that are just blank, but it's a very good translation from what I've checked so far. It's a very good translation. It's a written by Rabbi Yechiel Bar-Lev and translated by K. Skeist. Anyway, it's printed in Eretz Yisrael, and you can buy it online. But it's called the Magid Mesharim, the Magid of the Righteousness. So anyway, this book of the conversations between Rabbi Yosef Karo, the Baal Shulchan Aruch, and the angel, initially people are like, what? Spoke to an angel? Like, really? This maybe it's a made up. All of Gedolei Yisrael discussed it. 100%. This is 100% authentic. It's accepted among Gedolei Yisrael. This is 100% authentic. So it's not like, some accept it, some don't. Gedolei Ador, this is it.